The Maori people, indigenous to New Zealand, have a long and complex history that dates back centuries. However, one aspect of that history that is often overlooked is the genocide that was committed against the Maori people during the colonization of New Zealand by Europeans. This genocide, which is often referred to as the Forgotten Genocide of New Zealand, had a profound impact on the Maori people and their culture. The colonization of New Zealand by Europeans began in the late 18th century with the arrival of British explorer James Cook. Over the following decades, European settlers established settlements throughout New Zealand, often at the expense of Maori land and resources. As the Maori people resisted these encroachments, conflict between the two groups intensified. In the mid-19th century, the British government declared sovereignty over New Zealand and established a colonial government that was heavily biased towards European settlers. This led to a series of wars between the Maori and British forces, which resulted in the displacement of large numbers of Maori people from their ancestral lands. During this time, the British government also implemented policies designed to assimilate the Maori people into European culture. These policies included the forced removal of Maori children from their families and communities, and the suppression of Maori language and culture. These policies had a devastating impact on the Maori people and contributed to the erosion of their cultural identity. In addition to these policies, the British government also engaged in a campaign of violence and repression against the Maori people. This included the use of military force, as well as the deliberate spread of diseases like smallpox and tuberculosis. These actions resulted in the deaths of tens of thousands of Maori people and contributed to the overall decline of the Maori population. Despite the profound impact of this genocide on the Maori people and their culture, it is often overlooked in discussions of colonialism and genocide. This is due in part to the fact that the Maori people were not subjected to the same level of violence and repression as other indigenous groups around the world. However, the fact remains that the Maori people suffered greatly as a result of European colonization, and that their cultural heritage and identity were deeply damaged as a result. Today, the Maori people continue to struggle for recognition of their rights and their cultural heritage. While some progress has been made in recent years, there is still much work to be done to acknowledge the harm that was done to the Maori people during the colonization of New Zealand, and to work towards reconciliation and healing. Only by confronting this difficult history can we hope to build a more just and equitable future for all people.